Okay, here in 16.4, we're going to look at what's called expected value. It's kind of similar to an average. You're saying on average, what do I think is going to be the outcome here, even though you don't know the outcome each time. So we'll look at an example. All right, one we're probably the most familiar with weights is grades. So let's say you have a class where the grades are weighted. We have this in our class, right, to some extent, although I just made things worth more points proportional to their weights, so it's easier to calculate. You can just add up how many points you have and divide by how many are possible. But in this one, they tell you, even though, let's say, for instance, I don't know, the final exam. Let's say the final exam and your total homework score are both worth 200 points. The final exam is actually worth more. It's supposed to be worth 35% of your grade. So how do we figure out your grade? Well, you have an 82 out of 100, an 88 out of 100, so we want to take your percentages, right? So how did you do on each of these? So the ones that are at 100 are a little easier to figure out your percentage. You have an 82% on this midterm, and 88% on this midterm, and then 182 out of 200, so 182 divided by 200, or you can divide by 2 because you can think if it was out of 100 points. So you have a 91% on that assignment, and you have 190 out of 200, or a 95% on this assignment. So now we turn them all into percentages, and so then this will tell us, well, how much is each one worth? So the 82%, let me switch colors just so we can see this. The 82% is worth 20% of your grade. So I want to multiply it by 20%. Now be careful too, I want to do my percents as decimals. You can do them both as decimals also if you want to. Your answer at the end will come out a decimal. So this 82 is worth 20%. Plus, this 88 is also worth 20%. So 20% times the 88. Plus, this is worth 25% times the 91 score that you have. Plus this one is worth 35%. So if we plug this all in our calculator, it looks like at the end you end up with 90%. So in this one you really are getting an A or an A minus if you're using normal grading scales. So it's how much is something worth, the percent, times the score that you got. And so here's them just rehashing. The formula is that if you have a variable and they have weights, you do each weight times the variable that it goes with, and you add them all up. Okay, so here's an interesting one that has to do with, can we do this with probabilities? So if you haven't heard this before, I think they do this on AP tests also, the advanced placement classes, but the SAT has an interesting scoring. So let's say if we take a test in here, I'm never going to take points away from you, but on the SAT, there's A, B, C, D, E, so they're multiple choice, and every time you get a correct answer, you get 1 point, and every time you get a wrong answer, you get minus a quarter point. If you leave a question blank, then neither of these things happen. Okay, so why do they do this? Well, what they're trying to do is make it so that even if you guess, they should, in theory, on average, across the whole exam, cancel out any lucky guesses, because you might guess some right, but then you're going to get some wrong. The minus quarter point should cancel it out. But let's figure out the actual mathematical what's going to happen. Okay, so let's think of each of these, and we don't know what the right answer is. We can just pick one in this case. So let's say if we leave it blank, you get 0 points. You don't get plus or minus anything. So let's just say for argument's sake that B is the right answer on this question. It doesn't matter which one we make it. We could do anything. So if the B is the right answer and you put B, you get 1 point. What if you guess any of the wrong answers? You get minus a quarter of a point. So then the thing we want to think is, well, what's the chance that this happens? So if you are guessing, each one of these has a 1 out of 5 chance of being right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 answer choices. So 1/5 or 0.2. So all of these have a 0.2 probability of happening. All right, so let's say this one, same thing. What's the chance that you get it wrong? So the chance that you get it right is 0.2 or 1 out of 5. The chance that you get it wrong is 4 out of 5 because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of these that are wrong, or if you add these all up, you get 0.8. So your weight is your probability, your chance of getting it. So you have your chance of getting 1 point is 1 out of 5. You got a 1 in 5 chance of guessing it right. So my weight is 0.2 times my value. What I would get out of that is 1, so I multiply these two things together. Plus, you have an 8 out of 10 or 4 out of 5 chance of getting it wrong. What happens if you get it wrong? You lose 1/4 of a point. So if I multiply these together and add them up, let's see what happens. So same thing, probability times in fact, we'll fill it in on this one too. So what happens if you get it right? You get 1 point. The probability of that happening is 1 out of 5. So probability times the outcome. The probability that you get it wrong is 0.8 or 4 out of 5. What happens if you get it wrong? You lose 1/4 point. And if you leave it blank, you could also think your probability of getting it right is 0. And what happens is you get 0 points. You could put that one in there too. It doesn't matter. Okay, so if I multiply those and add them all up, notice 0.2 times 1 is 0.2. 0.8 times negative 0.25 is also 0.2. So you end up with an expected value of 0 points. So what does that mean? Is that sometimes you might guess right and sometimes you might guess wrong, but on average, if you do that across the whole exam, it's not going to help you because the ones that you guess wrong will cancel out the ones you guess right and give you a net of 0 points. So they're trying to make it so that that guessing doesn't help or hurt. So you should only answer questions if you actually know them, or if you could narrow them down to maybe 2 choices to up your odds. If you're pretty sure about it, you could guess. But if you're just randomly guessing, it won't help or hurt your score really.